Hi, I'm Yvonne, and today I want to talk about bullying. I have been bullied a lot when I was younger. It started when I was 7 years old and it lasted for 8 years. I went to 6 different schools, not counting kindergarten, because we kept moving. That sucked because I was always the new kid in class. And it was only the last time we moved that the bullying finally stopped. I was shy, I was wearing glasses, I had pretty good grades, I was not good at sports, and this is not considered very cool. So I guess I was an easy target. The first time I got bullied was with a kid named Leslie. I was 7 years old and I had a friend, Peter, who was washing his handkerchief in a stream behind school. Okay, a little peculiar, but kind of fun also. As a joke, I pushed him a little bit, and the only thing that happened that was his underarms got a little bit more wet than he wanted them to. He wasn't angry, he didn't do anything, but his friend Leslie seemed to be so infuriated by this that he punched me in the stomach. He was a huge guy, and I don't know why he got so mad, but the punch was so bad that I couldn't breathe anymore, and nobody seemed to do anything. I didn't tell anyone, so that was it. The second time I got bullied was with Alex, also a kid from my class. We went school swimming and suddenly he pushed me underwater. I have no idea why. I never had anything to do with him. I don't know why he disliked me. And he pushed me underwater so long until I really thought I'm going to suffocate and I will drown. Well, here I am, so I didn't drown. But it was very scary and nobody seemed to notice and he got away with it. And another situation happened during school swimming, and that was that somebody jumped on top of me while I was swimming. It was very scary because it hurt and I was suddenly underwater. And I was struggling to get up to the surface to get air, but because my back hurt so much, I had a difficult time doing that. And for a very long time, I thought that must have been an accident. But recently I thought, if this really would have been an accident, well, for one, you see if somebody's swimming in front of you. And if this really was an accident, then you say to somebody, are you okay? I'm very sorry. Nobody did. And now I guess it might have been the same bully, Alex. Then we moved to Belgium. And, you know, teachers, they are also bullies. And we had a very small class called moral education. Our teacher, Mr. Bries, was the last person, in my opinion now, to give moral education because he was an asshole. Most kids were at religious class, so there were just, I don't know, 4 or 5 of us. And one time he asked what was a nickname that your parents gave to you when you were younger. And I said, well, my mother used to call me a little doll because I used to be very tiny. And then he started laughing at me. What the hell? You ask a kid, I mean, I was 10, I guess, something pretty intimate, and then you mock them? Wow. And this wasn't the first time or the last time he did that. Also, once we took a walk and it was a very hot day. So the last bit, it was just a schoolyard left. I ran into the building because it was cooler inside our school. But he didn't consider that good behavior, so he made me come back and walk very slowly again across the schoolyard. And the next day I was at home with a migraine and a heat stroke. Then we moved back to the Netherlands, and I had a teacher named Mr. Van Kalk, and lately I understood that there were a lot of kids that have been bullied by him. I wasn't the only one. He used to mock pupils in front of the whole class, which is very awkward and humiliating. You know how you are allowed to tell what you have been doing on the weekend? And we had been going to a bungalow park with my parents and my brothers in Belgium for the weekend. And we had a really good time. And after I was finished telling, he said, "So how long did you go there?" So I said, 2 days, because it was a weekend, right? And then he said, "Only 2 days." And he started laughing at me, and the whole class started laughing with him. Wow, I felt so locked out and stupid. There was another situation with him. We had a Christmas celebration at school, and he was pouring hot chocolate into my plastic cup. And the plastic cup fell over, and the hot chocolate ended up all over on me. And then instead of saying, "Are you okay? I'm sorry," he said, "This is your fault. You should have held on to the cup." What the hell? I was 12. He was the adult. He should have held the cup himself, or it was way too hot, by the way, but whatever. Or he should have asked me to hold it, or he should have maybe poured you know, in a better way. So, okay, that was that. And then I changed school again because it was the first time I went to high school, and I thought it was pretty intimidating. It was a new building. It was very big, different teachers, different classmates. So yeah, I was a bit scared already. One of the first lessons was our music lesson or hour, I don't know what you call it, with Mr. Bus. Now I must say that he was usually a really great teacher, but this was not one of his smartest moves. He went around the classroom and he put drumsticks with the girl next to me. And he said, "You have to play the drums." And she couldn't play the drums, and she didn't want to get embarrassed in front of the whole class, so she gave the drumsticks to me. And I didn't want to play the drums either. I was scared too, so I gave them back to her. And then he put them back with me, and he said, "No, you have to play the drums." And I thought, this is a very unfair, because he gave them to her first. And this was all, of course, because I was very scared. I didn't want to do it, but he forced me. He kept going on and forced me until I sat down behind the drum kit, and I finally hit the snare drum, and that was it. Everybody laughed, and I felt very stupid and awkward. And the funny thing is, later in life, I became a drummer. So I love drumming, but this is not the way to create love for, I don't know what he was trying to do anyway. And it was double awkward for me, because I was already bullied in that music class because I liked the band ABBA and they weren't considered very cool. So I was criticized for that. And now I think they were all stupid, because I still like ABBA and they were genius. Then there was a math teacher, I forgot his name, and he always made us guess what grade we would have on our report card in front of the whole class. And I didn't want to embarrass myself and guess too high, so I guessed too low. And then he got very angry with me. "What are you doing? This is ridiculous. You're never allowed to guess again. Wow, what a reaction. In general, I got name called a lot because of my glasses. Even our present king came to insult me because of my thick glasses. And I was already always very insecure about them because I thought they made me ugly. So when somebody comes to insult you about them, it's very painful. Usually nobody wanted to sit next to me in class, so I ended up alone or next to somebody else who wasn't very popular. Sometimes the teachers put the desks in a circle, and then I was very relieved, so people had to sit next to me and I wasn't alone and excluded. When I was 13, I read about the caste system they have in India, where you have the different categories with the outcast and the unskilled workers at the bottom, and the priests and the intellectuals at the top. And I recognized this immediately. I always identified with the lowest caste. I always thought I'm the lowest caste. Then, of course, there were gym classes. The classical choosing teams, when you were never picked. Recognize this? Well, as if that wasn't bad enough, when I was the only one left, and this happened time after time, the teacher assigned me to one of the teams and they all shouted, "Oh no, we have to have Yvonne!" And there you go, with the last bit of self-esteem you have, it gets destroyed. It was terrible. And then when we played, for example, dodgeball, there was a very mean, huge, big, tall girl called Wilma, and she threw that dodgeball intentionally at my legs, you know, very, very hard. So it would leave me with red legs and bruises. She was mean. Then there was one time I was in love with a guy from my class, and I don't know how many people there were, but a couple of people, including him, and they mocked me for being in love with him while he was there. This was so humiliating, and I felt sorry for him because he got associated with me, stupid, worthless me. One day we had a school trip. We went somewhere by bus and nobody wanted to sit next to me again. So I felt very sad and I was sitting alone. This was really not nice. I was sitting alone in front of the bus. So everybody, the whole bus could see Yvonne is sitting alone by herself. Suddenly somebody came from the back with a guitar and he sat next to me and started playing Let It Be, Let It Be. And the whole class came to the front of the bus and gathered around us and we all sang. And of course this was very cool in the days when you were allowed to stand in front of a driving bus. But to me, it emphasized that I was sitting there alone. So I liked it, but I felt so awkward and ashamed. One of the lowest moments was when a girl spit on me. Wow. Why do you spit on your classmate? We had a lunch break and I was just sitting somewhere and the staircase was over me and she was standing on the staircase looking down on me, and so she spit on me and it ended up on my face, and she had just eaten gingerbread, so it was brown, and this brown goo was dripping down my face. It was super humiliating. There was one girl who asked me, "Are you okay?" And I just took it off. And this was the only time ever I took some action or tried to take some action. She was walking, the girl who spit on me, she was walking in front of me and I tried to kick her. I was so angry, but I missed. I actually downplayed being bullied for a long time. I thought it was normal, that it was just part of life, that it wasn't so bad. It was only till pretty recently that a former coworker told about how she got bullied. Wow, and that touched something inside of me. Finally, I realized I have been bullied too, and that was not okay. Bullying is not just some harmless child's play. It can have lifelong damaging effects to your self-esteem. You know, I had anxiety for a long time, low or no self-esteem. If it happens a lot, you start believing it yourself. I stopped liking myself. I have been feeling stupid and worthless and ugly for many years. Being left out is also very damaging for your self-esteem. But the good news is it's never too late to start healing. The first step is acknowledging that you have actually been bullied. I always remained silent about it because I didn't feel I had anybody that I could trust enough to take me serious. And of course, my survival mechanism made me believe that, well, it wasn't that bad. I think it's much better to try to find someone to talk to. You can share things so you feel less alone. Maybe you can tell it to one of your parents, a sibling, a friend, maybe even a teacher. If you have been bullied or if you are being bullied right now, remember it's never your own fault. You haven't done anything wrong. You have never done anything to deserve this. Don't let anyone tell you that you did. You are wonderful. You are unique. You are strong. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Be proud of yourself and believe me, you are good enough. Really. Please, let's all try and stop the bullying. Thank you for listening. Take care.